This is The Warrior's Journey, a podcast designed to equip, inspire, and bridge the gap between military members, veterans, their families, and our communities. The Warrior's Journey is an interactive online community where warriors and their families can find resources and encouragement to navigate the unique challenges they face, and presents the message of faith as the path to finding wholeness in everyday life. For questions, resources, and to find ways to get involved, visit thewarriorsjourney.org.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the TWJ podcast here in the TWJ studios here in Springfield, Missouri. And great to have you back here. Really excited about our next special guests, Danny and Nora White. In fact, this is, I think, your 12th episode to be with us over the course of the time that we've been on the air, so to speak. And you're the second guest that we've had now in studio, not just doing the audio version of the podcast, but our video cast. And so we're really excited about that too, because we're going to hopefully another level and trying to keep up with all the Gen Z and Gen Y and Gen X and all the other Jennies out there that we're trying to keep up with, so really going to another level. So welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And really excited about an update because how long has it been since you guys were here last?
If my math for Marines is correct, I believe it was in late 2019 that Nora and I, that was the last time we were here. We were here together. Yeah. And it was a really cool time. She was able to share her part of our story.
Yeah, it was so cool.
It was always nice to be a repeat offender and invited back, but we kind of dialed in that from Danny's side. Yeah. But it was cool to hear Nora's side. And but you're right. It was 11 times that we've had various parts of our story told.
That's great.
TWJ.
Well, we want to reflect on that here in just a second, but and then talk about what's happened since 20. That's a long time ago. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of thinking, I feel bad. We should have had you on here sooner. It's like, has it been really that long? So we need to make sure we need to make sure next time it's not in between so long in between. Right. So, but lots of great updates. Looking forward to that. So why don't we just do this in the beginning? Because I know that many of our viewers and listeners, as they're either watching or they're listening to this, that they may not know the story. So we'll say this right at the outset. We really encourage you to go back to our library. Mm-hmm. If you go twj.org /podcast, you can go back and you can see those other episodes or listen to those episodes, which would be great. Mm-hmm. But just for, I think, maybe a highlight, would you guys mind just sharing a little bit, just kind of give us an overview, give us a summary, make sure that we give some context to the story, because we're really looking forward to these new chapters that you're going to talk about today.
Certainly. I'll segue for your listeners and viewers. Those are episodes 13, 14, 17, 19, 30, 47, 48, 73, 74, 75, and 76.
Awesome.
And you definitely want to check out 75, 76 because that's Nora's version of our story at length.
Gotcha.
But we'll do the Reader's Digest version. Mm-hmm. I was active duty, married my high school sweetheart. We were moving to Fort Leonard Wood, had a tough day. I watched Jenny, pregnant with our fourth baby, and my 5-year-old die in a wreck. And I didn't know you could get that close to the Lord. Thank God for his faithfulness as we go through tough times, and learned a lot, with resiliency, stumbled through some things, and certainly I appreciate what the Warrior's Journey is doing because I didn't isolate. I think that was one of the default to, but God didn't let that happen. And so I know that that's one of the things that y'all fight. And that's what people slide into. Yep. I think this attack of the enemy is, hey, let's internalize, and you're the only one having this issue.
Super easy for that to happen. Exactly. Yeah, super easy. And you're active duty at this time.
I was active duty, yes.
Coming from the West Coast. Were you 29 Palms before?
I was at Bridgeport, okay. Marine Corps Mountain Warfare Training Center.
That's right.
And the accident happened just inside the Arizona border from California.
Coming to Fort Leonard Wood.
Fort Leonard Wood, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And so after a lot of praying, felt led to stay on active duty, got to Fort Wood. Met this beautiful lady Easter Sunday of '98, which I think is kind of cool that it was that day when Jesus started putting broken disciples' lives back together. My life started getting put back together.
That's
and
amazing. So
we courted. She took care of my 2 babies that survived the accident, and we got married. Had Sound of Music.
Yeah,
in
that's
September
awesome.
of '98. And I know it was tough on her being an Army chaplain's daughter to marry a Marine. But she was tough.
At least you didn't call me an Army brat.
No,
so 20. That's 26 years ago.
It was
right?
26 years ago.
That is so cool, and so many great things. And just a few other kiddos came along the way too, right?
Yes.
Just a couple, three.
I mean, like to the lady that did all the
Couple
work.
3 times 2, right?
She adopted Hannah and Ethan, and then
Which is great.
then we had 7 together.
That is amazing.
The gospel truth.
Yeah. Which I just really, I don't know, I just have a deep level of respect for you guys, and just an amazing story, but just the fact that you've dedicated yourself not just to overcoming that hurdle, and you doing it together, because obviously, Nora, I mean,
Do it together.
yeah, I mean, this became a part of your life, immediately when you begin to engage in this relationship. I mean, it's like you can't just say, well, that's you and that's not. I mean, it's you together, and it's a chapter that I probably I'm assuming has defined a lot of ways forward for you. So, but to think and see just the abundance that God has brought you now with all of your children and the family. I mean, wow, it's so cool. It's such a great story. So anyway, I didn't mean to derail you here.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I like playing ping pong
Yeah.
with a conversation with you. And but we were blessed. We got married. I was stationed at Fort Leonard Wood, went to Okinawa, came back to the States, did a tour of headquarters Marine Corps in Quantico, then went to the Joint Staff of the Pentagon. Messed up my knee, which was God's way of calling me out of the Marine Corps. And then we back to headquarters Marine Corps to mark time, and then we retired in 2012.
That's
and
great.
Moved out here,
and then back to Springfield.
Right, exactly.
Because you have some roots here, right?
We do, and thankfully we're not too far from Nora's parents, so we're near one set of grandparents. Both my parents are home with the Lord, so it's nice for the children to have that grandparent touch. But we were going to test drive the area after we retired, and say we're going to save our final move, and coming up on 11 plus years later, we're still here. Missouri stuck with us.
That's fantastic. And just one of the little side connection here too. Your brother Nora is obviously just a dear deep friend, and Christian is just an amazing guy, and still serving in the U.S. Navy as a chaplain. Was involved with a lot of cool high-speed things. He's the one that introduced us, to the world of naval special warfare years ago, and now those relationships are just blossoming. We just finished our first resource called the Frog Manual for SEAL Team 1, 3, 5, and 7 out there, and we're working with the C4 Foundation.
Really great.
The Keating, Charlie Keating, and their family. So all of that was totally made possible through Christian's connections there, and continues to help us with that. So, so really your lives and your family's life isn't just this one dimensional, it's multidimensional. So it's pretty cool. So I thought I had that context in there too, because that's pretty cool too. So
that's a cool connection there, because I was privileged to commission Christian into the Navy Chaplain Corps.
Cool. That's so
and
amazing.
We stumbled into doing it at the Liberty Bell, the National Monument. Yeah. And that's where God kind of cemented for their when I left the military, we had a business, Lead with Liberty LLC, focused on leadership, resiliency, et cetera. But that verse that's inscribed there, proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And God used that for the 7 years we were in business to be our mission statement.
Isn't that great?
It's proclaiming liberty.
I love that.
To help people.
Yeah, I love that. So on the screen behind us here, we've got a little collage that we put together.
Oh, wow.
So on this, why don't you just kind of talk about, tell us what all this means.
I've been talking. Why don't you take it away?
Come on, Nora.
Take the family photo.
Let's start up here in the upper left-hand corner here.
Okay, so we've got Danny and I and our 9 blessings. So Ethan is on the far left, and he is one of my adoptive or my non-stretch mark babies. And then we've got Hannah to the right of Danny. Philip is in between the two of them, and she is... Actually, I should have started with her because she's our oldest. And so right now we're at an interesting position where we have 4 children that are launched and in their 20s. So that's kind of cool. So we'll go back to Ethan, who's on the left. So we've got Ethan, and we've got Eric. We've got Lydia is the older daughter. Christine is a sweet little flower girl. We've got Anders there, ring bearer. He took that very seriously. This was my
that's awesome.
Niece's wedding. And then we've got Noel standing there with Danny behind him. We've got Philip, and he's our oldest at home now. We've got 5 at home. He's our 16-year-old, so great to have a driver. And then I already mentioned Hannah, and then we've got Ian, who's our most recently launched. And Ian and Ethan are able to be roommates right now in South Carolina area where Danny grew up. So that's pretty cool that they are able to do that. And he's going through Bible college. So we're excited about that. And we've got another wedding there. Number of years ago, my sister Anna got married. So that was when Danny was still serving.
That's great. Love that uniform. Yeah. Nothing like the Marine Corps.
Nothing
uniform.
Like it.
Yeah, it's great. And what a beautiful family. Oh my goodness, it's so fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and then let's talk about the other two panels here, because these represent, of course, your book, and I brought one in here to the studio too, so that we could, here, I'll just grab this.
Okay.
So this is the second edition,
edition
of printing, and we were so happy and privileged to be able to be a small part by helping get this into print for you again. And
for the record, you were a huge part. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
We're really proud of this one. But
yes.
So it's a great book. We'll talk more about how people can get a copy of this. But this is a great story, and this is an updated version too, because
it is.
Nora's got some poems in here.
Yeah, we had two more.
Right, first
so we had to add some information about them, and I've written a poem about each of the children, and been honored to get to include that in both printings. So
that's awesome.
She helped design the cover. She said for the first printing we used a stock photo. She said you need to be in there. So that's yours truly.
I love it.
And I always wanted to be a cowboy, so I'm getting to do that a little bit now. Part-time rancher, but
yes. The hat looks good on you, brother.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it looks good.
You wear it well.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I got my first cowboy hat just a few months ago, and so
excellent.
We're going out west this summer to do some dude ranching. So I can't wait to be the poser.
Awesome. Determination is key.
Yeah, right.
My boys always make fun of me because I think it's a compliment whenever I tell them something about basketball, but they turn it into a humorous insult. Determination is key, guys. Stand your ground.
That's hilarious.
But beautiful job with this panel. But the logo for Lead with Liberty Ministries is on the right. It was interesting when we had the business, we had a little knockoff of the Liberty Bell in the logo. So again, back to that connection with Christian and that having such an impact. And but I think there was, and this can bring right back into our story, is God called me from business to ministry while speaking at a men's retreat. It was really weird. I showed up, telling a story, and I wanted to have an arm of ministry when in business. But Saturday night, he speaks through a friend, who become a dear friend, and basically you need to repurpose. Close down your business, reform as a ministry, and the next morning I stood up in ministry. And I was like, wow, I didn't know it was going to happen this fast, God.
Wow.
But that's one of the podcasts we talked about, the Lord speaking and guiding us today.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for, as I reverently call him, the divine career planner, a term I learned in the Marine Corps. We had that job, but he certainly beats any Marine career planner that I talked with, and giving us guidance. But we had some good friends, in fact, a lady on our board helped design this logo, because we wanted to, it no longer, the business was, hey, get Danny to be your coach. Let me tell you about leadership. Let me talk to you about resiliency. And we can, I don't think this is in the book, and I'm not sure we talked about this before, but I had an encounter with the Lord in January of 2021, and I realized that people need to understand you have baggage as a human being. So the story is still relevant, where I nearly threw this amazing story of meeting Nora away, but the Lord salvaged it. And so that's where we find our freedom. It's in Christ. Jesus paid for our sins, and we're born into that prison, but we have baggage as a human being, but he'll free you from that baggage too. So now the adjustment has been, still tell the story, but where do you go for the help? It's not Danny White. Right. It's to the Lord Jesus.
That's awesome.
And at this men's conference, I'll go ahead and tell that if you don't mind.
Sure.
We were worshiping the Lord, and I'm not sure theologically it was open vision. I was awake when this happened, but having been deployed on the Pacific, it's a huge ocean. But all of a sudden, I could see from this speck's perspective, I'm under the surface of the water, and there was no end to the top, bottom, whichever direction I looked, front, back, left, right. There was no end. And God said, "That speck is you, and this is how much I love you." And honestly, I don't think I've ever cried that hard in my life since my wife and son died.
Wow.
And it was like, wow. And then I finally understood the verse in 1 John, perfect love casts out fear, because I realized how much my Heavenly Father loved me. Insecurity kind of goes away.
Yeah.
And that was that aha, because he was shaping us. He's been shaping us, in this time that we've been away from the Warrior's Journey podcast. So that's not a slam. He's been forming and shaping us to where we are today. And I'm so thankful that aha moment happened, that this is the ministry piece.
Yeah, it's a perspective thing,
Exactly.
when he realigns perspective and gives it takes us away from that temporal visual thing where it becomes much greater than ourselves, but we're such an important, valuable part of it. And
right.
that's pretty cool.
Right.
And it's one of the key things that we talk about when we're doing warrior to warrior type engagements. It's that hope component is such an important piece. And, we find that, not to oversimplify the complexity of it, but when someone is dealing with a suicidal ideation, we can pretty much tag it back to a loss of hope, a loss of purpose, a loss of value, and I love that because it's just even when we are healthy, even when we're doing well, God does not finish that process. We're on that journey continually, which makes it pretty fun.
Right.
That's pretty awesome. So just out of curiosity, I think this would be helpful. So Lead with Liberty, the ministries that you're focusing on now, what's kind of the end game? If you guys could say, hey, as God blesses us, we continue to hope that this vision will be fulfilled. What is that vision?
Thank you. That's it took us a while, again, with the board's help. We've got some very talented people and fellow believers, but if I were to give you the elevator speech would be, we're focused on encouraging Christian families. So it's a very tight niche, if you would, because our marriage nearly disintegrated, and I was asleep at the switch, and we can talk about that more. But it's to encourage Christian families because every Christian family is under attack from the enemy of our souls.
Well, so true.
And I was asleep at the switch and didn't recognize it. It was like, well, a Marine would certainly recognize spiritual warfare, and I could plan anything for the natural war, but wasn't aware that I was not being a watchman for my wife and children and nearly destroyed my marriage. So we want to encourage Christian families to withstand the attack and to endure and not quit. And so that's really what we're about. And I use that word encourage specifically because the root means to give courage. Yeah. Because again, when you're in that isolated, you're feeling like, and we'll get to Nora's podcast, or excuse me, her blog, but it's been so encouraging, people thinking, we're freaks, we're the only ones that have this problem.
Right.
And we're willing, through God shaping us, informing us, and getting us comfortable, is we're freaks too. We have problems, and we want to be transparent and share that with people. Not that we're these lofty people on a mountain and we've got it all figured out. We're a flawed family just like anyone else.
Love it. I love the fact that you're willing to be vulnerable, because that vulnerability is that act of kindness. We use this on in fact, a podcast we did here recently. We kind of talked about this, and we even used Marine Corps as the Marines as an example, because when you're undercover in a firefight and you're undercover and you're engaging the enemy, and you see a brother who doesn't have cover and is in the line of fire, you make yourself vulnerable. You come out from undercover to give to that person to make sure that they're safe.
Right.
And that's exactly what you just described, because when we can be vulnerable, that begats a sense of hope and security for the person that we're encouraging. They're giving them courage too, and it takes that reality. So, so Nora, on your perspective on this whole thing, because this isn't just Danny's deal. This is, you guys are doing this together. So. How's it been going for you? What has this been like? And tell us about your perspective on it.
Okay, so I think just recently, kind of this past, we like to think as New Year's comes around, we like to, as a family, talk about, okay, well, these were our goals last year, and this is, look what, where we've come, and then what are our goals for this year. We really felt like, and I don't mean it to sound like an insult to us or any opportunities God gave us in the past, but, if we could get that strong foundation just in our daily life and routine to move from kind of feeling like we're dabbling in the ministry to, hey, we can engage more. And it's been a unique check and balance system since we went specifically into the ministry, though Danny's speaking business had a strong ministry component as well to it, able to take that to the faith-based side as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I think for us, it's been, the check and balance system has come in. Part of what we are doing is through the Lord's help and through accountability, outside accountability with our family and our community, to stay strong as a family. So we can't offer anything to others. We can't offer very much encouragement if we're just trying to survive instead of thriving, if we're just in that survival mode. And so even though, you continue to try to do it better in not feeling like you get it down perfectly, I think that being strong at keeping that strong, the foundation is God. So we see it as like the ground foundation of anything that we're doing is God. And then we kind of have this picture of sort of a stool where we've got 3 legs and the ministry is resting on those 3 legs. So keep those 3 legs strong. We've got community, because those are the people that really do life with you. So to stay in ministry, you need that strong community. And then we've got, you know, we move toward family. That's Danny and I as a couple, keeping that strong, our children, our extended family. And then we've got health. And the health leg is something that's a huge part of us being able to continue to serve, because you're able to thrive and not just survive. So we've been kind of addressing that lately, and that's been an exciting part of our journey, is doing some kind of a detox that has some Old Testament principles. Not that that's the only way to do it, but for us, that's been helpful.
That sounds sounds pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, that has been. So that's kind of what those 3 legs, keeping those strong. That's what kind of the ministry is going to rest upon. So that idea of not dabbling means that as we can minister more, our family has to be stronger, and that helps keep our family strong. And then we have more time. We're able to do that more intentionally. And so that's something that we're excited about. Already we feel like we've been able to do that, with me being able to get my first blog post written and Danny to be able to, and I to collaborate with that. I do love to write. I've been journaling since I learned how to, well, I did not really spell, because I don't really spell well, but, you know, when I started writing, you know, 3rd grade. So I do love writing, and that's a way to encourage. Thank goodness for spell
check, right? It's like,
no, wow.
Oh, yeah, that's so great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. You know, so what I'm hearing you say is like, you know, hey, we're living this thing. We're building the plane as we fly it, in a sense, you know. Maybe even feels like that sometimes. That could be, sometimes it's precarious, sometimes it's really great, but you're a living example of what it is you're encouraging others to do, which is fantastic, because, you know, being able to share from out of your own experiences, I think makes all the world of difference. So you know,
we've appreciated our board of directors is me. I mean, I throw this dear lady into the under the bus with myself. I want to run out, you know, full bore, you know, 1,000 miles an hour. They're like, no, you need to be very deliberate, because you cannot go and do ministry and destroy your family. And they've been so specific. What Nora just said is your ministry is your family's life.
That's first.
And you're building, and what you're doing is you're gaining experiential wisdom.
Yeah.
Again, not that we've done it perfectly, but we've learned what not to do sometimes.
Of course, yeah.
But in order to share that, and back to what you were saying with the whole battle buddy thing, the picture I got from a book that helped me after that tough time was Trusting God Even When Life Hurts, by Jerry Bridges.
Yeah.
And he talks about you pass on the comfort that God's given you. So you be a channel,
right,
and not be a dam. You know, block what you've received, but pass it on. And so the same thing is with whether you're helping somebody that's grieving. In this case, can we take what we've learned in 25 plus years of marriage and raising 9 children and encourage others on their journey? And it's, again, was affirming to people to share very, very transparently with Nora, particularly. I thought I was the only one in this situation. Thank you, you know, for letting us know that, you know, y'all look good, but, you know, Nora was, you were sharing some, in fact, just this last last go around, I think Holy Spirit used Nora's words to realize if I'm not taking care of my health, I've got a lot more pain. Thanks to wear and tear in the Rod and Gun Club. But if I eat right and exercise, the pain is lessened.
Yeah.
So then I can do ministry and I can support my wife and our duties at home. So it's kind of this aha moment, you know, blinding flash of the obvious for the Marine. But it's drawn us closer. And our watchword is connectivity. You know, how are we doing in our connectivity? Because this the mystery of oneness that God brings into the marriage. And we're still learning that, but staying connected to this beautiful lady and us reinforcing each other. And she's a co-founder. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah. I was the founder of Lead with Liberty LLC, but we're co-founders of the ministry.
Yeah, so it's a pair. Yes. You know, and I really appreciate the fact that you said, I just want to kind of speak to this real briefly, but the fact that you said, hey, we're not perfect. And, you know, but man, that's exactly what this world needs to hear, because I think so many times we see and I'll just use ministries, right? Or when we're giving self-help, you know, talks, or you hear TED Talks, it's almost like this, hey, you got to do A, B, C, D, and if you do all these things, then everything will go well with you. And it's like, you know, that's not that that's not partially true, but let's talk about the reality of life a little bit, because what I'm hearing you say is, hey, here are some principles that we know are good. Here are some things that we know in God's word that we should strive for. But let's be real. You know, as we strive for it, these are the challenges that we face in actually implementing them in our lives, and we've made mistakes along the way. You know what? That's so encouraging, because I think when people hear that, they realize, oh, wow, okay, so I made mistakes too. I can identify with that. So, so I just want to say thank you, because I know so many times when we get people who are in these, not personality driven, but you get a platform, if you feel like you've got to be able to speak as a subject matter expert.
Yes.
And I think really when we're dealing with the heart of a human being, it's just the opposite is true.
Something that we address with the connectivity. The flip side is what we call chaos mode, and that's something that I had addressed in my recent blog post. And just encouraging people, when you get into that mode, when you're kind of being the worst version of yourselves, you know, as a couple, some things that are just basic to really help. And one is accountability. And I think that's huge for anybody who is struggling. And when we're feeling isolated, that accountability, that, you know, being willing to share with someone else, you know, this is what I'm struggling with, and encouraging your spouse, hey, please share with someone else so we can
outside of your
that's
circle.
Right, outside of your, you know, be willing to have that accountability, and also be willing to kind of free each other to do that. That this is not, you know, I, with the best of intentions, the best way that I can be a helpmeet to my husband and to serve my family, and for him to have that leadership role, is to be able to share in a sensitive, you know, in a respectful way, to say, hey, there are issues. Share, you know, don't keep this inside the circle. Share with someone trusted.
Yep.
So that's something that we've encouraged people to do, as well as, you know, talking to a minister, talking to a chaplain, someone who has that biblical perspective, and doing that regularly as a couple. If that, you know, that's been really helpful for us, even if it's not every week, if you don't need that, if it's, you know, every couple months, you know, that's something that we encourage people to do, is to also do that when you're, you know, dealing with just feeling like, you know, we don't have the margin we need, or whatever that is that you slip into when you feel like you're just kind of too much in survival mode and not enough in that thriving.
Yeah, because isolation has all kinds of different faces, you know, and I think sometimes the small little isolated things that we do in life can be sometimes as or more damaging, because we can hide behind the fact that, oh, we're not isolating, but we're isolating, you know, portions of the closets of our life. And I love that, because, yeah, I mean, we're really meant to allow the Lord to, you know, be all in. It's really like, God, you're if you're really the Lord of my life, that means you're the Lord of everything.
Exactly.
So that's really, really great.
And you expose it to the light of truth.
Yeah.
And now it can be dealt with.
Right.
And we've seen that, you know, with some of our children and issues, is that trying to hide it. And that was, I think, a real strength that Nora brought to me.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful we're learning that as well. But as what she said, what I like is, when nearly destroying my marriage because of all the insecurity and baggage I had, because I was a workaholic, you know, on active duty and chasing that next promotion and medals and all this stuff, and nearly, you know, thinking, well, maybe just Nora would be. In fact, there was even some suicide ideations. I was like, at one point, I'm like, well, maybe she'd just be better off if I weren't here, because we were having such struggles.
Interesting.
So, you know, she's got my life insurance money. She'll be happy.
And what you're describing aren't bad things.
No.
They just became bad because it took away from the central side of the focus, which is goodness. I mean, hello.
Yeah.
Who can't relate to that, right? To some degree.
But it was humbling when I, you know, confessed. I was like, look, I was going to leave you and the kids, but I want to make our marriage work. But I'm not the perfect husband. I get that, but I don't know what you need. I said, the picture I have is, I feel like I'm about to score the touchdown. I mean, Super Bowl's coming up. About to score the touchdown, and you move the end zone on me. And I'm like, I'm trying. And so she's like, we need counseling. I'm like, I'm not getting counseling. I'm Lieutenant Colonel. I counsel people. And she's like, no, we need help.
Right.
So it was very humbling to ask my boss at the Pentagon, sir, I need to work on my marriage. I'm getting out. Either I'm going to be retired medically, or I'm getting out with longevity, but I'm broken and I've got to get out, but I need to fix my marriage. He's like, okay, because you look successful. I mean, you're on the Joint Staff.
Sure.
You know, you don't just slouch into that job.
Squared away.
But then you go to the chaplain, because people aren't coming to the chaplain when things are good. So the Marines and sailors walking by, and it's embarrassing. They must be having problems.
Right.
Well, we were, but we've realized, and since that, we gained strength through that, because the chaplain helped us work through some of the issues and all these insecurity and things that have been identified. And God so gently did it, but He needed to peel it back. Our rule is, if we can't solve it with us talking, we're going to go to a chaplain.
We can't work it through.
And we can't work
together.
it out ourselves. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Here's the thing that I hope everybody can gain from what you're describing, is that vulnerability, transparency, it is the only path to victory. And really the only path to hope, you know, and wholeness. And of course, when we can be completely vulnerable, ultimately, not just with these folks that we can be accountable to, but ultimately to God too, because when you sit in those experiences, then you kind of have to be honest
yes.
about what God's doing in your life and heart too, right? Because listen, my pastoral experience for over 30 years, I can't tell you how many couples, people, individuals I've had in the office, and they begin to tell story, and you just like, yeah, they're not giving me the whole picture.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you tell me what really is going on? What do you mean? I'm not accusing. I'm just saying that I
there's
know
more to this story.
There's more, and it's okay. And guess what? This is a safe place. Why don't we just kind of see if we can process something out of that?
Right.
And I think people are so afraid of judgment and of feeling like they have to carry a mantle that God never intended us to do. So I love what you guys are doing, and you're breaking down those barriers. And so what a fantastic thing. So tell me, so you're not just doing this in Missouri, you're doing this all over the country. Right. And what's the goal? What are you thinking, like 5 years from now, where do you hope Lead with Liberty Ministries, ends up being?
I'm married to a beautiful dreamer. Let me see what check in with her.
And I want to come back and talk about her blog too.
Yes,
so that's coming up. So
all right. Well, we've got some different avenues that we're working on, with the online presence. That's something sounds like we're going to talk about in a bit. And also a different angle is just the joy that we have in opening up our home. And we've got a great location because we're close to a pretty cool Christian camp, and there's also an elk farm next to us. So somebody's thinking
that
it's a good place to get away. So kind of a mini scale, sort of a retreat center, if you will, with a focus on those in ministry and those in the military. And so we've got a little bit of renovating to do because the bathroom, it kind of works, but it is, you gotta, we know that it's a true friend if they're willing to come and stay at our house and use that particular, needs some work. So anyways, but we still enjoy hosting and feel like there's a special life that you get within your home when you can open it up and share it with more people. And because of our rural location, we don't have a lot of just drop-ins, but so we've got some, we've had some fun little, airsoft war retreats with our boys and their friends, and that's something fun that they, simulate the battles with the hay bales and the, different forts. But then we bring it in, and we've had a neat little service where Danny will share a message with these young men and do a little bit of worship. I'm at little bit of a is hacker on the guitar the word I want to look for?
That's not accurate.
Nope. What's
You play the guitar well.
Anyway, so just that's been a neat thing. So sort of expanding that a little bit and maybe being able to have more people actually come to our home and have a little bit of a getaway. And we have some different, thoughts about that. Danny has taught the boys to do some cool things just on the ranch. If it's, what is it? Even if it's just cutting, wood. I don't know what to say with that. There's a lot that has to do that with working a chainsaw and with this and that. But there's things on the ranch that some people
stuff that they're not used to doing normally, right?
Some of that outdoor things that you
sense.
keep up. So that would be kind of a neat thing as well. So that's
really cool.
That's something that we're thinking about doing, and we can do it now whenever even if it's our family. We have a lot of, both of my brothers are chaplains. We have family in our home. We have them, for some extended time period, and we've got a mini retreat. We're encouraging others and staying healthy enough as a couple, all of us to stay healthy enough as a family to be able to have hospitality in the way that we can means a lot. It means a lot for people to be able to be in each other's homes and have a little bit of a break from our norm and learn from each other. So we want to encourage people that way.
That's so great. That's awesome.
And we got that idea from Christian, kind of a merge. When I was in business, he said, man, I think probably these, multi-million-dollar CEOs, they'd love to come chop wood with you and get your leadership that you got from the Marine Corps. I just never found a way to kind of dial that in.
Sure.
But we thought, same thing, if we had like one family at a time, and hey, you're going to come help me work wood, and we're going to talk, as men, what's going on, and like you said, be real with each other. And then Nora's just doing life. She's making meals, and the wife is with her, and there are kids. So that's, I think,
just relationship.
Just doing life, exactly.
That's awesome.
And right now we could do one family, at a time with, this renovation we need to do. I've been wondering if God, I love Keynote, patriotic event or, regular Sunday morning. But we found that there's a lot of, let's call it combat power multiplication when Nora and the children go. with me.
Yeah.
And because they can talk to people I won't get to, and also the ladies, back to her blog, she's getting to people I can't get to. And that's the whole thing, back to that Christian family. How do we do this? So I've been wondering, God, are you wanting me to focus more on men's conferences? So it's not that you're the guy on the platform, a couple of thousand people, but the individual matters to the Lord. I mean, Jesus went through a horrible storm, freaked out the disciples who'd probably been through some storms to heal one demon-possessed guy, just one guy, and then left him to be a missionary. So I'm like, the individual matters to the Lord. And we just had an aha moment. And a friend of mine has just gone through a very painful family. And I won't go into more detail than that. But we were at a basketball game. Our boys are part of a homeschool basketball league. And I just listened to him and just talked and just felt it had to be the Lord encourage him and give me the words to share. But I could tell I got through because having had pain in my life, you can empathize, with people. And so I was like, wow, again, it was only one person, but it made a difference for him. And I got to be, again, that channel God got to speak through. And it was this aha moment last Friday night. So I'm like, okay, I think we're starting to, as Nora was saying, we're not dabbling. We're entering into this, kind of a full force.
Yeah, and I think this side of heaven, we don't have any clue how powerful that is for that person's life.
Yes.
And what happens now in the days and weeks to come because you made that investment.
Right.
So wow, so cool. It's discipleship at its best, right?
Exactly.
That's really what discipleship is supposed to be. It's not it's not a book.
Right.
It's not a class.
Right.
It's life. Doing life together. So again, man, kudos. That's amazing.
And I had an aha moment. This would have been 2022, and I won't go into more detail, but one of our sons went through a very painful situation, and I'd never heard a human being make those sounds. It was a sound of heartbreak. And he's crying on my chest, and of course I'm crying with him. And like I said, never heard a human make those sounds. And I was like, Lord, I have never thanked you for allowing me to go through what I went through December 14th of 97. I'd like to think I've comforted people from afar, from the platform, speaking, sharing encouraging words about how God helped me, techniques that they could consider, et cetera. But I've never comforted someone in an up-close personal way like I'm able to do with my son because I understand pain. So thank you. And I'm not saying that revolutionized anything, but it's one of those that I didn't get through it on my own. God helped me.
Right.
But it's one of those that once you've hurt, God doesn't waste anything that comes into our life. The joys, He can use those. He can use the pain. And in my case, I've been shaped. The chapter of life closed with Jenny and Danny, our unborn baby. And then I've got a chapter in life with Nora. And I think I'm really seeing kind of our tagline from our vision statement is from John 8:36. So if the Son sets you free, you'll be free indeed. Yeah. Become who you're born to be.
Yeah.
And I think God's helping me figure out this is why I was born.
Which
to
doesn't
be part of Lead with Liberty Ministries.
Right. Which doesn't mean that there aren't going to be other challenges.
No,
doesn't mean that there aren't going to be other heartbreaks.
Yes.
It doesn't mean, I think the greatest, I can just tell you from, what just brings me back to my own thoughts on this, but thinking in terms of all the people that we've ever seen God navigate, it's through brokenness that the greatest examples of God's grace come through brokenness, because He puts all those pieces back together. And I know it sounds kind of cliche, but it really is true.
It's so true.
Redeeming our suffering, and that you experienced that with your own son, that loss, that deep loss that you experienced, and then He uses it, He redeems it, and like you said, those are some of the most powerful opportunities that we have is through that.
Yeah.
And that's just being transparent. That's not trying to toot my horn.
No, of course not.
A few months later, a family we were in our community with, the horrible situation, they watched their little 2-year-old boy get run over. And so I've been walking with them. That was first 1 March of 2023. And again, I've been trying to walk with Brian so he can help his family through this tough time and just sharing. And so I felt led by just going back into my journal that a couple of mentors, one mentor in particular wrote the foreword of our book, Brad Lepiska. He encouraged me. He called me the day of the accident. He said, get into the book of Psalms and read until you find that one verse to hang on to that day and keep a journal. That journal is beat up, but I wouldn't take $1 million for that journal. So I've just been going through a day every day. This is the verse, Brian, God gave me for this day. And he's like, and it made me tear up. He said, so often, there might be a couple of days go by, but he said, I need something, and then you text me.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, wow, thanks God that I can be walking with Him through this first year. Because you got all the first birthday, the first Christmas, all that without this little guy. I mean, we know where he's at.
Sure.
He's doing well. The issue is they got to do life without him. And that's where the pain is for us still on this earth.
Yeah. I mean, we even though we have hope, we still mourn.
Exactly.
You know, because you miss. I get it.
Yes.
I mean, I get it conceptually. And no, I do understand. And I can't imagine the depth of that. And, but I'm so grateful for folks like you who are willing to share, you know, from your heart when those things happen. So, so here's what I'm gaining from this, and I want to make sure we don't run out of time, because I want to come back to Nora's blog, because I think these are the great platforms that you guys are using to. I'm just going to summarize real quick what I think might be an overall stuff. Hey, through your life experiences, which have been probably compared to most, you've had to navigate some pretty big challenges that most people don't necessarily have to do, but the ones that are out there that seemingly feel like there's no way to overcome this, you know, you guys have, whether it's through a book like this or through a platform of having life together individually with people, whether it's at your home or at a basketball game, or, I mean, you're focused. It's like, God, use us, you know, use us to make a difference in the lives of others, which is so powerful.
Right.
So man, thank you for that. And thank you for sharing that here today, because I think as people listen, and I want to come back to this, because I want to say, hey, I already can hear, how do I hook up with these guys? I want to connect with these guys. I want to know more, and I want to engage. I want to go make some bread with Nora, or I want to go cook or whatever. You know,
go teach Nora how to make bread.
Yeah, I don't.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody saying, man, I want to go cut wood. Maybe, you know. So, but I want to have some type of an engagement.
We hope there's someone like that out there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I'm sure, and there are. But
I know you're joking.
But we want to make sure that we give that venue. But so before we run out of time, though, so this has been a sense of your platform. Talk about your blog and talk about, you know, what's the vision behind it, and how's it going?
Absolutely. Well, it's brand new that I have actually written the blog post that we've been able to get up there on the website, and I think Danny seems to think that it's just like it's been happening. It's just been like ruminating in my mind for years now. And so like my first blog post was, I don't have a blog. More accurately, a blog post, because I've never even done social media before. So I don't really know what's going to come out of my mouth, if it's just going to create humor for those who are my children's ages, you know, the 29 and down, you know. However, I'm excited about really just taking an ordinary day, ordinary life experience, having the relatability, and then also being able to encourage, just being able to bring that forward. So the first blog post was introducing myself, you know, sharing about the blessed and yet often frazzled mama that I am with the 9 children that we have and the 5 that are still at home, and talking a little bit about how the Lord is, you know, walking kind of our own version of what gets a little bit chaos mode, and how we can walk out of that, and yet the joys and the delights that are there at any rate in the midst of it. And I've been writing in my little notes section in my phone just different titles, just fun little titles. So I'm getting ready because I know I'm supposed to crank these out. It took us a long time to crank the first one out. Being a poet, it's like, Danny's like, you know, every word's not necessarily going to be able to be perfect, but you know, so I get to do 2 of these a month. So that'll be awesome. Exciting.
And how many have you completed so far?
Number one came out last week.
Now talk, because I think before we started, you said, yeah, I don't know this is going to be good, because tell the stat there that I think maybe will bring some hubris to this.
My gut told me that when Nora was with me and you in the podcast, you know, 4 years ago, I imagine your numbers went up significantly, because she's such a combat multiplier, and I jokingly say the thorns of Danny brought the rose of Nora. But our website guy said that in the week that has been out, her post has generated like the equivalent amount of traffic that my last 5 did.
Wow.
So she has definitely gained traction and is gaining following. I'm excited.
See, now I give you a little hint there. You say, well, you know, hey, you know, women just need more help. So yeah, I'm kidding, just kidding. I'm gonna get some bad.
I'm definitely outnumbered, just like I am at home.
I'm gonna get some bad ones on that one.
6 guys and 2 girls.
Yeah. Definitely kidding. No,
absolutely.
I would tell you that my wife is a lot more interesting when she talks, and she can address things a little bit more. Well, let's just say it's better. So I get it. Yeah, you're good company, brother. So that's great. So that's fantastic. So how do people, like, if they want to engage and they want to be able to just follow you, engage with you guys, look at your blogs? Let's talk about how that happens. What's the best platform for that?
Well, the website is leadwithliberty.org.
So all together,
lead with 3 words, but all together.
Lead
so
with
lead
Liberty.
with Liberty.
Okay.
And .org.
We'll put that on the screen when we have this.
And we've got, you can contact us through that as well.
Okay.
But we're seeking opportunities. I'll go ahead and do the shameless plug.
Please. This is the time of the podcast to do that.
To speak to the men and or to the ladies, or just do marriage conferences.
And this doesn't have to be in church either, right?
No.
So we're not talking about churchy stuff. Of course, it could be.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But you're talking about it could be an organization, could be a business, could be maybe it's a group of families on the end of a cul-de-sac that want to do something for their community, right? I mean, it could be anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In any hybrid or variation.
That's awesome.
God showed me, gave me an amazing opportunity in 2023 to speak to a military unit. I won't get into more detail. So it was the first non-faith-based event that happened. And they wanted me, they were to say, look, would you come share about resiliency and leaving a legacy? I said, done. There's plenty of hooks in my story to do that.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I wanted to honor the people that brought me in. But I was like, look, I'm not going to divorce my faith. So I just shared. I said, I'm going to share with you. I got their attention. I watched my pregnant wife and 5-year-old son die in a wreck, eyes as big as dinner plates. I'm going to share with you what helped me get through that. You don't have to do it this way, but this is what helped me. This is my story I'm going to tell you. I'm not here to try to proselytize you. I'm not trying to turn this church service. I'm just telling you my story. Yeah. And the commander and the XO said that was perfect. You didn't touch the third rail, get us in trouble, anything. But it was very organic. It was not, okay, I can't say this. No, I just went for it.
Yeah. And quite honestly, I'm just so tired of all that nonsense, too. It's like, come on, guys. It's like they're getting in trouble for talking about how our Creator has helped us. I mean, it's like, what is happening? Yeah. I get it. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But so we're now recognized we can do non-faith based, we can do faith based events, and
and I think what you're saying is we can do maybe more a secularized version of our faith message,
right, exactly.
Which is kind of funny when you think about it.
But it's still, I mean, again, I drove home the point of you've got baggage.
Yeah,
so if you want to talk about leaving a legacy, then break the cycle and deal with your baggage. Don't perpetuate it into your children, because if I hadn't been through that crisis of our marriage nearly ending, I would have probably propagated that into my children.
Yeah, so good.
And so, and I love my parents. I thank God for them. They were flawed like I'm flawed.
Sure.
But I want to disrupt, it continuing with God's help, or at least let them recognize, like my older ones, I've told them, you got these tendencies because you saw it in me.
Right.
So now you can deal with it. It's been identified.
And then go do it better than I did, right?
Exactly.
And the legacy just keeps getting better and better. But I'm watching my kids as parents, and I'm like, wow, that's so cool to watch. Man, I didn't do that. It's like, but that's good. But maybe I instilled a little bit that made them want to do that, even if it meant, Dad, one thing that we learned about being a parent is what we don't want to do. So, you hope that's not the case for everything, but at least some of those things.
And you're helping your grandchildren and then their children.
Exactly.
by doing that and taking that hard look.
That's good. Well, I want to encourage our listeners, please engage. Danny and Nora, if you haven't gotten this, I mean, they're open books. I mean, I love your transparency. I love the fact that you're willing to, just really get it all on the table there too. And the fact that too, so many of our military families, and I know that you guys are working and affecting more than just the military community, but inside the military community especially, you are uniquely placed as well, because there are so many folks inside the military that have not come to the place that you are, and because of your experience, people trust you, and there will be an ongoing opportunity. So, I would just say to people, if you're listening here in the next few moments as we begin to wrap this up, that you take a hard look at maybe just investigating what's there, what resources are there, what possibilities are there relationally with Danny and Nora, and let's talk about how Lead with Liberty Ministries is a possibility for you, whether as an individual or as maybe something for your family. So I love that. So let's talk about, just again, onboarding. So go to the website, leadwithliberty.org. And then is there an email they can email it?
There's a contact form you can fill out, and it'll come right to us.
All on the website.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Any other ways that they can connect, or that you would want to talk about or promote here?
that's we're still figuring it out.
Okay.
Did you mention the audiobook and the
yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
so
thank you.
let's do that. So let's talk. So I'm
thanks
going
to
to
the Warrior's Journey, we
Yep.
have an audiobook and an ebook.
Okay, and a physical book.
And a physical
physical book.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and all these available on the website as well.
The audiobook is anywhere you buy audiobooks is available, any platform out there.
Okay.
The ebook is on Kindle.
And let's talk about the title if you want to look at it. It's called
A Widower's Walk
A Widower's Walk.
from Desert to Destiny.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And like Nora's already alluded to, there's multiple layers in this book, so selfless plug here. You want to read some poetry, you're not going to find a prettier poet. And she chronicled some of the challenges and just mating. So I love it. I've learned that poetry is like Twitter. You got to make those words work hard, for that short. But now with the blog, she can be a little more liberal with her words.
Well, we've published hundreds of books, and this is by far one of my favorites.
Well, thank you.
It's top 3,
Thank you.
if not right up there. I mean,
Very
it's
encouraging.
Y'all, you made it was a huge leap from first printing to the second printing, and that's thanks to you and the publishing arm.
Well,
and
it was an honor. We're just here to help.
thank you.
You did all the work. All we had to do is kind of maybe help
us put out a very professional product.
Yeah, well, hopefully put a little wax on it. That's all we did. So,
You made it shiny.
Yeah, there you go.
But with the audiobook and ebook, we have those discounted. We're not charging retail
Yes.
because we want to help people. There is value in that, we believe. Same thing with the paperback. It's donation only. But we don't have that available. But we did mention we brought a box that you could distribute if you'd like through the Warrior's Journey.
Yeah, and just again, if you're listening, contact us here at twj.org. Send us a message or info@twj.org, and we'd be happy to get you a copy of this book. And because I know you're using this at some of your events and different things, but this is. Please don't miss out on this. This is a great read, a great, encouraging, ongoing. It's something you can go back to. That's what I love about this book is you can go back to it and really gain some insights and some really cool stuff.
And those episodes that we mentioned in previous podcasts, a lot of that's in that book as well.
Yep.
So if you're an audio, that's there too.
That's awesome. And people are listening to more books, which is really cool.
Yes.
All right. So kind of as we finalize things here today, let me ask you this question. It's hard to believe we're coming up on an hour here, but
Wow.
it goes by so fast. So I love to give this to all of our guests. Hey, if you want to just leave one thought, and of course you remember this, and I feel like this is such a cool thing that I love to do because. I think it gives the opportunity for God's presence and His Spirit to guide your words right now. So I'd love to hear both of you, just in a little snippet. What's one thing you'd really want people just to take away today? What's your hope?
Oh, I guess
Ladies
start.
first.
Okay, so I'm going to address this in particular to the ladies out there because our focus is on Christian families remaining strong. So I think that's huge for couples and within the home. And so I feel like for us, in taking care of our husbands, our children, and then being able to work out from there to impact our community. We have such an example in Jesus Christ because He was a servant and He sacrificed, He laid down His life for those that He loved, and we can do that as well. And He's also, those of us who are also making a home. So He's our heavenly homemaker. He tells us that He goes to prepare a place for us, and He's making a place for our eternity for those who are putting their faith in the Lord, Jesus Christ, and He's the only one who cleans us. We're none of us perfect, but He does that for us. And so He's doing that. He's making this perfect place for eternity for us. So I just want to make just a little bit of heaven on earth for my people who I love. And that's the thing that keeps us grounded when we make it a priority, when we take the time to do those things that make life beautiful. It brings our children back to the home, and they can bring others there. So what you're doing in there matters, ladies. So that's something I want to encourage them in.
At a huge risk of not wanting to derail that thought too is, and I can speak to this. If you contact Nora, she's the real deal too, and you're gonna find in her a really neat friend, that's gonna encourage you. That's pretty special, because that's pretty hard to find, So you guys are just that way. I love it. So all right, Danny, what's your last thought? We'll wrap this up.
The pearls of wisdom.
Yes.
I'd go back to probably the 3 questions, and of course I'm going to talk to the men, but this would apply to the ladies and to the children. Anyone that's listening is, have you figured out who you're born to be? And 3 questions that kind of helped me get on that journey was, who are you? What are you doing here? And why do you act and react the way you do? Most have never wrestled with those questions, and that's anecdotally. I've not got a study. But having spoken for 11 years, talking to people afterwards, you start, like you were saying, when you've counseled, you start to get the tells and knowing, okay,
right?
I'm hearing the real thing. I don't think a lot of people recognize their baggage.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ wants to free you from that. He made it possible.
Right.
And I hope you realize how much the Father loves you. Your Heavenly Father loves you.
So good.
It's staggering, absolutely staggering, but you don't have to be in figurative prisons.
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful for His grace and mercy in my life to expose this to me. Am I out of them? No, I've recognized them and I'm working. So I'm still a recovering workaholic, for example. But thanks to us recognizing connectivity, I have a less of an issue now than I used to. I can still swing into chaos mode.
Sure.
But no, we got to ring it back.
It's amazing. It's amazing how the Lord has delivered you.
But
that's fantastic.
But figure those out. Wrestle with those 3 questions.
Yep.
And I think you'll be surprised to recognize your baggage. And then you don't have to carry it. You can dump it. Because casting all your care on Him, for He cares for you, as it's written in 1 Peter.
Well, I'll go back to Nora. What she said a minute ago that just resonated with me personally was like, yeah, it's not about survival. These aren't keys for survival. These are keys to thrive.
Yes.
I mean, God wants us to live life abundantly. Again, doesn't mean we're not going to have challenges, but you've got tools to navigate through it. And then all of a sudden you start looking at, when you can get to a point you're like, oh, here's a challenge, bring it. This is good. Okay, what do I got to learn on this? This is going to, this is going to be hard, but at the end of the day, we're going to learn some cool things from this. So I'm kind of excited about what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Then people
That's
like, okay, you're really weird, but okay, that's really interesting. But it is, you get the right perspective, and that's actually pretty doable. So. I love you guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bet.
Thanks for the honor of giving us this time.
Oh, you bet. And hey, listen, if you're listening, watching, please reach out to us. You want to get access to this book and or other ways that you can connect with Danny and Nora. We're just excited about being able to partner with you, move forward with that. Whether you're military, not military, doesn't matter. I know that that's their heart. So thanks for joining us here at The Warrior's Journey. Please always feel free to contact us. Again, TWJ.org and or leadwithliberty.org. And so we'd love for you to connect with us. Thanks so much. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Thank you. Good day.
Good day.
Thank you for listening to the Warrior's Journey podcast. Be sure to leave a review, and to ask questions, give, or get involved, visit TWJ.org today. The Warrior's Journey. Warriors helping warriors heal invisible wounds.